What's going on, guys? Nick Willard with Almost Canon Podcast. So, Skinwalkers have become a paranormal staple in recent years, and it's pretty easy, to see why. These entities can be incredibly scary, for one, especially with the ability to take on the form of an animal, right? But one trend that I've been seeing is the belief that the Skinwalker is more of a cryptid than anything else. So tonight, I'm going to go over a quick history and overview of the Skinwalker, and hopefully we'll all have a better understanding of what they actually are. Does that make sense? So, the beginning of this is going to be somewhat boring. It's not very long. Just stick with it, and we'll get through it together. All right. So, United States Army surgeon and Civil War veteran Washington Matthews, known for his ethnographic studies of Native American cultures in the 1890s, recorded one of the first mentions of Navajo witchcraft in their creation of first man and woman myth. Right? And so ethnographic studies is kind of, this is a Google definition. I got it right here. Relating to the scientific description of peoples and cultures with their customs, habits, and mutual differences, right? Does that make sense? So he gathered all this information, talked to all these people, recorded some of their early stories, and put it into a book. So the story says, this story of a creation of first man and woman, the story says that after the birth of the last twins, the first man and the first woman had 5 sets of twins. So after the birth of their last set, the gods came down and took the first man and the first woman to the mountains in the east, where they were taught the awful secrets of witchcraft. And you know what? That is definitely something I feel like we've heard before, right? It brings, I'm hearing echoes of the stories of, Nephilim teaching secret knowledge to mankind. In every culture, you have stories of gods teaching man stuff they're not supposed to know, right? So we have that. And also, in a 1944 book by Clyde Cluckhorn called Navajo Witchcraft, he outlined 4 different types of magic, right, used by Navajo medicine man. So, number 1, we have witchery. 2, wizardry. 3, sorcery. And 4 is frenzy. Now, this one, it's off, right? It's totally different than you have witchery, wizardry, sorcery, and frenzy. So frenzy magic is when one uses some sort of object or item to curse another, right? But we're not going to talk about frenzy magic. What we're actually going to focus on is witchery. So witchery would be what we call skinwalking. And in order for a Navajo witch or a Navajo medicine man, or woman, I guess, to become a skinwalker, they need to willingly make the ultimate sacrifice, right? Now, this sacrifice would consist of performing the most evil of actions, and that would be unaliving one of their dearest loved ones. And there's other ways to go about doing this. I think one of them would be an incestuous relationship. And I forget the others, but the most popular way to become a skinwalker is to, murder a loved one. So after this, the witch, and I'm going to refer to them as a witch for now on, is initiated into like a skinwalker cult where they are taught how to master the Skinwalker ways by someone who has already mastered the witchery, the Skinwalker magic, and afterwards they would be able to, put on the pelt of an animal and take that animal's form, right? Because that's what they do. They wear the pelt of an animal. They don't necessarily just turn into, an upright walking wolf like they're often depicted as. What they do is they wear the pelt of an animal and they take that animal's form, shape. Now, that's basic Skinwalker knowledge that I feel like everybody knows. They seem to leave, the facts out and just go with the good stuff. So now, what's also not talked a whole lot about is the Skinwalkers' use of something called corpse powder, right? Now, this corpse poison is often referred to as corpse poison too. However, this corpse powder or corpse poison is just a substance used to poison, the Skinwalker's victims. Now, corpse powder is said to be a very fine powder that is kind of resembles something like pollen, especially when it's in like a bowl, a large amount in a bowl. It's kind of yellowish. It looks like pollen. I've obviously never seen any, but this is what people who have seen it say. So it's made from the ground up bones and dried flesh of buried Navajo, particularly these circular bits of bone cut from the back of the skull or the skin found on the fingertips, toes, and balls of the foot. Now that's very interesting. There's oddly specific areas to get the best corpse powder ingredients. So all corpse powder ends in death. If you're poisoned with corpse powder, you're most likely gonna die. The most potent poison is made from the bodies of children and especially twins. So that kind of brings it back to these sets of twins that the original first man and first woman had. Now, only a Navajo medicine man is able to counteract the poison. And even then, sometimes all they can do is slow the poison's spread. So I often find that a lot of times when people talk about Skinwalkers, they leave out this whole bit with corpse poison and corpse powder. This is something that, when you read authentic Skinwalker stories, this is something they talk about. Skinwalkers, they'll poison a cigarette. They'll put some of the powder on a cigarette, give that cigarette to someone. If the Skinwalker works at maybe like a fast food restaurant or just a regular restaurant, somewhere where they can prepare food or beverages, they'll sprinkle some of this corpse powder on the food or the beverage. They'll give it to that person. Obviously, that person will get sick and die. It's just not. I find that it's not talked about a lot. When you talk about Skinwalkers, they're often depicted as these dogmen like beings. And while that is cool, I'm telling I find that very cool too. When you really read the historical accounts of Skinwalkers, that's not what they are. And I do believe, I left this out, but I do believe the only way to actually kill a Skinwalker while in Skinwalker form is to shoot it with a bullet that has been covered in, I should have looked this up. I actually don't really know. It's covered in some sort of ash from some sort of tree. So I'm sorry about that. I should have looked that up. I didn't even think about it. But anyway, so there you go. There's an incredibly quick history lesson on the Skinwalker. This being is not a cryptid, like I said. It is a human who's mastered witchery and then uses that power to take the shape of an animal in order to do its dirty work, you know? So, Skinwalkers, Witchery, Dark Navajo, Witch Doctors definitely sounds almost canon to me.